Welcome to chapter 26 of the book of First Chronicles, the ministration of the gatekeepers. Now we're into a chapter that'll give the names of all the Levites that keep the gates around the temple. I don't believe it's the gates of the city, but the gates at the temple, and they are all here it says to the Korhites, men standing at the gates, making sure that nobody could come in that wasn't to go in. And basically that was anybody that was not a Jew, and certain other things that people, if they had certain like leprosy, then they couldn't go in, of course. These gatekeepers reminds me of years ago, maybe 40 years ago. I had a friend up in Vancouver, Washington. His name was Larry. And Larry had graduated from a Bible college, and he was hoping to get a job in some church, either as a pastor or whatever. And apparently some small congregation there sent to the college and asked to send somebody that could be a pastor of their church. So the college got a hold of Larry and told Larry, and so Larry called me up, and I was up there. I had a house in Victoria for a couple of years, and he asked me if I wanted to go with him to this small town, to this small church. So I said, sure, I'll go with you. So off we went, and we drove up to the church, and we walked up the stairs, small church. There was a man there, a gatekeeper, I guess you could call him. And he said, are you believers? We were kind of shocked, and Larry said, what difference does it make? And he said, well, we don't let non-believers in. So Larry didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. We went on in and went through the church service, and afterwards we went and talked to a couple of people that were elders of the church, and they were elders, my age now, in the 80s, all, no young people at all in the church. And Larry said, well, what is this about asking people if they're believers before they go into the church? And the man said, well, yes, that's our model. That's what we do. And we don't want to keep unbelievers. We don't allow unbelievers to come in and cause problems or so. And I said, well, that's interesting. I go to a church in Southern California where 50,000 people a week go through. And there's probably 10 doors. In one church service will be 3,000 people. There's 10 doors, and there's probably 10 or 15 people at the doors and welcoming people. Do you think that they should hold everybody up to find out if they're believers so they could come in? And the man didn't know what to say because he never thought of these mega churches. At that time, they were fairly new. They were used to these little small churches in a small town, small minds. And maybe their heart was, hopefully was for the best, but it wasn't I don't think a good choice. If someone you know is going to be disruptive, then for sure you wouldn't want them to come in. But so Larry asked him, he said, well, where are the young people? Everybody here is real old. And he said, well, all the young people didn't go along with us, and so they all left and started their own church. So that's caused a split in that church. It was probably more than that, but it was interesting. It just reminded me of it here when we got to the gatekeepers, of that story. And then, so to the Korhites, Meshelemias, son of Korah, from out of the sons of Asaph, and to Meselamiah, son Zacharias, the firstborn. So now we got a firstborn, and Eadeel, the second. So I was mentioning a couple of chapters back where the firstborn, Jesus, was the firstborn of Mary. So there had to be more, which she did have. There was 7 in the family, 6 4 brothers and 2 sisters, and then Jesus gives the brothers' names, and it says the sisters, so plural would be at least 2. Zavadias, the Tritos, 3rd. Iathanael, the 4th. Ilam, the 5th. Ionathan, the 6th. Elionai, the 7th. And to Ovid Edom, son Samaeas, the firstborn, and Eozaved, the 2nd. Now, Obed Edom was a man that had the house where they took the ark and stayed there, and God blessed the family. And Joah, the 3rd, Sakar, the 4th, Nathanael, the 5th, Amiel, the 6th, Issachar, the 7th, Philathi, the 8th, for God blessed him. The eulogy comes from that word. And to Samaiah, his son, were born sons being ordained in the house of their father, for they were mighty in strength. The sons of Samaiah, Othni, and Raphael, and Ovid, and Ezavad, and his brothers were mighty sons. The Nati, dynastic, Dinah, whenever you see the Dina, has to do with strength. Eliu, and Samahiah. All these were of Obed Edom, they and their sons and their brothers, doing the natos mightily in the work. And we have an adverb here. It ends up with a li. It's an adverb. Might is a noun. Mighty, mighty would be a adjective, a mighty man, and might is now. And here we have dinatos. Whenever it ends with an omega sigma, generally it's a adverb. They were mighty in the ergasia work, ergonomics. 60 theo to Obed-Edom, and to Mesalamiah, sons and brothers, the Nati. 18, and to Osa, of the sons of Merari, the sons guarding the office, the rule. I guess the people that were sort of more in charge, telling people what to do. But he was not the prototokos, the firstborn, but his father made him ruler. So see the firstborn, you see how it's used in the Old Testament. You just can't, in Jesus being the firstborn of Mary, you can't have her as a perpetual virgin. Just doesn't go along with the Bible. How a church can push that doctrine that's not biblical, it's beyond me and people that follow it. Well, it is what it is. But his father made him ruler. Helkias, the Vevteros, Deutero, 2nd. Tavaliah, the Tritos, 3rd. Zacharias, the 4th. All these sons and brothers to Osa, 13. Among these were the divisions of the gates to the rulers of the mighty men in daily rotations as their brothers to officiate in the house of the Lord. And so David's setting this all up for when the house is actually built by Solomon. And they threw clearus, lots, for the small and for the great, to find out who's getting what, according to the houses of their families, for gate by gate. And the lot of the gates towards the east fell to Selamiah, and to Zachariah, his son, a counselor with skillfulness. They threw lots, and the lot of his came forth for the north gate. To Obed-Edom, according to the south, and to his sons over against the house of collections. And to Osa, to the west, with the gate of the chamber, by the road of the ascent, watch against watch. Towards the Anatolas, that should be highlighted, the east, Anatolia, Turkey in the old days, that's what it's called. The 6 Levites for the day towards the north, the Voron, Aurora Borealis, the Boron, north. 4 for the day. Towards the south, and to the collections, 2 by 2 for relieving. And I would imagine this is someplace where people put the money. And towards the west, 4. And at the road, 2 by 2 relieving. These are all the divisions of the gatekeepers for the sons of Korah and to the sons of Merari. Now it goes into the ministration of the treasuries, taking care of all the goods and the money of the temple, of the future temple. And the Levites of their brothers were over the treasuries of the house of the Lord and over the treasures of the holy things, all the instruments and so forth, and the coverings and clothes. The sons of Ladan, the sons of Gershon, to Ladan, rulers of the families of Ladan, to Gershon, Eiel, the sons of Eiel, Zethan, and Joel, his brother, who are over the treasuries of the house of the Lord. Thesavron, it's thesaurus, it's a treasury of words, basically. To Amram, and Isah, and Hebron, and Oziel, and Soviel, the son of Gershom, the son of Moses, was leading. This is Gershom, not Gerson. Gerson is the son of Aaron, who is leading over the treasuries. And to his brother Eleazar, Ra'aviah, his son, and Eosia, his son, and Eoram, his son, and Zechri, his son, and Salomith, his son. He, Salomith, and his brothers were over all the treasuries of the holies, which David the king sanctified, set apart. That's what this means, to be set apart. He set it apart for when it was going to go to the temple. And that is what we are to be, is set apart, sanctified to the Lord. The Holy Spirit dwells within us, and we are the temple of the Holy Spirit, and we have been set apart, separate from the rest of the world. Jesus says not to be part of the world. We're in the world, can't get out of the world, but we're not to be a part of it. Now, what does he mean? Well, we're set apart, so we don't want to do the things that are in vogue, get involved so much in politics, or get so much involved in money, or sports, or all sorts of distractions. We're set apart for God, for His being His able to use us in whatever way He sees fit. And we need to be open to the rule of God, what He would have for us: prayer, reading the Bible, getting good advice from others. And it continues, and commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds and chiefs of the force, the army, which they took from out of the cities and from out of the bounty, whatever money that they captured when they were at war. And he sanctified, separated of them. So they took so much of the money for the temple from the army, so as to not be late in the construction of the house of the Lord. So this is all coming together now. And upon all the holy things of God, as much as was sanctified by Samuel the seer, which who anointed David, and apparently things that he had there at the temple that were sanctified, that were set apart, that he's taking, and Saul, the son of Kish, and Abner, the son of Ner, and Joab, the son of Zeruiah, and all being sanctified through the hand of Salomith and his brothers for the things that are going into the treasury from these people, mainly army. To the Isari, Hononiah and his sons were for the ergon, the work of the effort, ergasias, of the outside thing over Israel, exoderm, outer layer of skin, to act as a scribe and to litigate, to write things down, and to be sort of like a lawyer. And to the Hebronites, the Hevroni, Asavias and his brothers, sons of Dynamios, dynamite, power. Heliopod is 1,000 leg, like a caterpillar, I believe. The helioped, ped for feet, 1,000 feet. 1,700, the ones over the reviewing of Israel on the other side of the Jordan to the west in what's called, on the other side of the Jordan to the west. Well, that's interesting because it seems like they were on the western side. For every ministration of the Lord and work of the king. Well, that would be in mainland Israel. They were for the ministration of the things for the temple. Now, the Hebroni, which is now Hebron, is now under Palestinian rule in the West Bank. Eorias was the ruler of the Hebroni, according to their Genesis, generations. Genesis is the first book of the Bible. And according to their families, patrias. In the 40th year of the kingship of David, they were numbered. And the mighty man was found among them in Iazir of the Galaditidos, Gilead, that's on the other side of the Jordan. And his brothers were mighty men, 2,700 rulers of the families. And David the king placed them over the Ruveni, and the Gadi, and the half-tribe of Manasseh on the eastern side of the Jordan, for every matter of God and matter of the king. Israel was what's called a theocracy. It's ruled by God, and the priesthood is in between the people and the government and God. It's not a democracy, which is of the people, might of the people, or an oligarch, which is a rule of a few. This was a theocracy, much like in the world today. There's two or three Islamic republics, which are theocracies: Iran, Afghanistan, Mauritania in the Sahara, and there's one more, and I can't think of what it was. Chapter 27 up next, the rulers of the forces. So we've went through all these different peoples, and we're going to continue now going into the army and finding out who they are, how many, and so forth. So I hope you join us in chapter 27 as we're nearing the end of this book, and we're going to probably going into Psalms next. Can't wait. Until then, God bless.